Welcome to the Self-Healing Revolution, where ancient wisdom and modern science meet. I am your host, Paige Pierman, owner of Love Yourself, an Ayurvedic and integrative wellness center based in Louisville, Kentucky. I do online courses, health coaching, and retreats, and I put together this summit to help you learn how to biohack your body, master your mind, and elevate your soul. I've learned, just like many of my guests, through my own healing journey that brought me to this work. And when I healed my own body, I made it my dharma or my life purpose to help others. So with that, I am so excited to share with you, and now consider him very much a friend and a similar person, John Fulbright, and he will tell his story about healing in a minute. But John is a lifelong adventure consultant, photographer, holistic health coach, and bee researcher who in 2004 survived a lightning strike, leading to Lyme disease, mold poisoning, and disability. Seeking healing methods for recovery, he uncovered many ancient, holistic Taoist medical practices that assisted the body system to full recovery. Incorporating the mental, emotional, spiritual, along with the physical, structural, and chemical allowed many difficult hurdles to be overcome. The methods combine ancient Tao 10 palace astrological birth charts, Japanese Meridian Apitherapy, and Tsang. The approach addresses the human body and spirit on so many levels that successful outcomes are plenty. Traditional medicine of this magnitude has shown to be incredibly powerful and effective in stimulating the spirit, immune system, assimilation, rejuvenation, and elimination. John consults with individuals, families, children, and companies looking for greater clarity, direction, and a desire to live lives with value and purpose. Thank you so much for joining me, John.
You're welcome. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, I feel like we spoke, and I feel like I found a kindred spirit in you. So I'm just so honored to have you here. And I would like you just to start off telling your story of how you got struck by lightning and what then proceeded or happened after that.
Excellent. So as you can see, the image behind me, it's a lightning shot I took, and I've photographed lightning for years. I've been nearly struck numerous times as a child, and always had an affinity for lightning. So it was really interesting that as I began my path in life, trying to find more value, I was actually on a vision quest in Montana. And 3 days into the quest, I experienced a storm, and as it passed, I referred to the universe and said, hey, I need some direction here. And I think it would be pretty clear if you struck me with lightning, and that would give me a lot of clarity on where to go. And sure enough, within about 10 seconds of asking to be hit by lightning, one of the last bolts I saw the entire day came out of the storm. Shot into a ski lift next to me, and then shot out of the bottom of the ski lift, went in my leg, out my right arm, and then visited me directly, and then left. And I was never unconscious, but I was burned. And it was funny because people were asking, well, what did it feel like? And really, it just felt like two bee stings at the entrance wound and the exit wound. And I thought it was interesting, especially now looking back on it, that it felt like bee stings. So anyway, what happened is I got severely burned internally, and after about a few months of not feeling super great, I started vomiting every day, and then I ended up having a lot of organs were just really on the edge. Liver, gallbladder, intestines, everything was really losing it, and developed all kinds of internal issues, severe weakness. I wasn't absorbing any food. I lost about 55 pounds over the next year, which is about a third of my body weight. So I was actually very emaciated, really quite weak. And it was in that process that I started doing Tsang, internal organ massage therapy.
I want you to pause before you go into that, because I want to go back to your story just a little bit. I mean, what like a divine intervention you had. I mean, you literally were on a vision quest for one. So I would think just going on a vision quest, you were looking for answers. You were looking to be divinely guided.
Yes, definitely.
Then you asked the divine to literally like strike you down to get clarity, which it did. And then obviously you went through a massive internal hit to the body. And I wanted to ask, at that time, did you go to traditional, like conventional, like to the hospital? And if so, what did they do and what happened? And I'm just curious, like what happened at, like, just to go back a little bit, like, did you go
Sure.
to the hospital and what did they say? What did they recommend? What happened?
You know, by that point, I I felt fine after I was electrocuted. So I didn't really think I had a lot of problems. Since then, I've learned it would have been a really good idea to go to the hospital, because what they would have done is they would have run many liters of saline through me to try to
Mm,
rinse out the crystallization of the blood that happened. So when I got electrocuted, I developed a lot of crystalline sediment in my system, and that led to all my organs sort of clogging, if you will. My liver, filter, gallbladder, everything was really jammed up, and it didn't become apparent for a long time. So I didn't actually go to the hospital. My friend gave me an acupuncture treatment after I was electrocuted, and out of several of the acupoints, I had sort of a yellow, red, crystalline, kind of like hard candy come gooey out of me. And
mm,
other than that, I really didn't do anything. I didn't really know what could be done. And I didn't really feel that bad, at least for the first few months. And then once the vomiting and the constant nausea and the dizziness and vertigo, and the obvious signs, like I'd eat a salad and I would literally, it would come out the other end like I hadn't even eaten it. It would basically still be green. So I was really not absorbing anything,
anything.
and anything. And
Well,
that
and it
was
sounds
quite
like, I
messed
mean,
up.
were you already like a holistic type person? I mean, you were already like integrating acupuncture right away. Were you already like
Yes,
attuned to natural healing?
I was fairly tuned to it. I had several different incidents growing up as a kid that, Western medicine helped me a lot with migraines and things. And then with a lot of other things, it saved me with massive infections when I had tonsillitis and stuff. And actually that was an early symptom that might have indicated I had Lyme. So I remember tick bites as a kid, and when I was about 12 years old. And it was after I had that kind of initial tick bite, and then a period of feeling sick and a fever and stuff like that, that I then started developing these neurologic involvement, where if I overexerted, I'd have migraines from hell, and I'd lose vision and have all kinds of different things go wrong with me. And I didn't really realize that maybe I had Lyme disease going until after the lightning. And so right after the lightning strike, I really just relied on just simple diet. And I did find that I couldn't food combine. So I would eat whatever I was going to eat. I would eat it alone. And then I would, if I was going to add anything to my diet, like say if I had rice and was going to have some vegetables, then I would eat those an hour later. And then if I was going to have any meat, I would have that an hour or two later than the other ones. And if I kept things separate, I could do okay. I did a lot of enzymatic therapy. None of that was really turning me around. I was probably severely severely acidic. And I did have a couple of breakthroughs getting on trace minerals, because I was using some alternative healthcare practitioners doing a kinesiology, and they were muscle testing me and telling me that I basically was losing all my minerals and wasn't absorbing anything new. I developed alopecia or vitiligo, started losing pigment in my skin all throughout my body, started getting kind of polka dotted all over. And that was affecting my sleep. And then, fast forward from, I was hit by lightning in June 18th, 2004. And by 2014, I was completely disabled again.
Wow.
I had used my main things that I healed the burns with was aloe vera, and then getting on different greens, sprouted greens. And then that was helping me alkalize, and then doing these trace minerals that didn't really require digestion, because I still was really having weak stomach digestion. I really couldn't digest very strong. And but by 2014, I had a whole new series of things developing. I had vertigo really bad. I had no smell and no taste. I was suffering from systemic arthritis, tendinitis, and I was having chills constantly and couldn't get warm. I was kind of gray. And I also, my wife especially noticed that I wasn't very patient, and I was very brain clouded and foggy. And I started getting these like tremors, and I was shaking all the time. And when I'd sleep, I would tremble throughout the night and shake the whole bed. And so my system was collapsing, and I wasn't sure what was going on. I didn't, it was new after the lightning. I mean, it was 10 years later, of course, but I knew something was going on, and
You were
that's what.
spiraling downhill.
Yeah, I was really tanking, and I literally, I remember pretty clearly. I had a brand new baby, my daughter Esme, and I couldn't really pick her up even out of her crib. And I had gone from like tree trimming, doing heavy work, chainsaw work all day, doing different things like that, and then I couldn't really even do anything,
So feeling
and
totally disabled.
totally disabled. I was not sure what was going to happen in my life. I was crying myself to sleep at night, and then not able to sleep. I'd be exhausted, and then I'd have these insomnia episodes, and then severe ringing in my ears. The vertigo was really debilitating. I skied and ice skated and kayaked my whole life, and couldn't do any of that, and was averse to cold, and I just wasn't really sure what was happening. And then once I went to one of my longtime friends, and she's a doctor and practices a lot of alternative things, and she muscle tested me, and honestly, within 5 seconds, she says, "Look, I'm sorry to say you got Lyme disease going, and what I can see here, about 5 co-infections." So I didn't believe it. I thought it was not a possible. I just wasn't on my radar, and so I went and I got the Western medicine tests, and oddly enough, it actually worked. A lot of the tests they use, like the ELISA and the Western blot, those tests don't always see Lyme because they require a functioning immune system. And I felt like my immune system wasn't really functioning, but yet, sure enough, I did have a positive Lyme and Western blot test. And so I, at that point, did a hormone profile exam and got my hormones looked at. And of course, I had the hormone profile of a 90-year-old man. I had very little hormone function, if any, and that was a big part of my problem. And then, of course, I was looking into Western medicine to treat it, and I found a clinic in Arizona. They wanted $300,000 for 9 months just by looking at my tests and the list of symptoms I had. They said it would probably be about 300 grand. Plus, I had to find a place to live and maybe have somebody come with me to help me. And then they said, you might lose a kidney, there's going to be a lot of heavy drugs we're going to use, and you may not, keep all your organs. And I was like, oh, well, I think I'm just going to die, because I didn't have it. Insurance wouldn't cover it. They won't take insurance. And so I just started researching, and a friend of mine came to me and said, "Hey, you got this Lyme, huh?" Well, there's a lady in Santa Fe that Sensei Voice, and she had studied in Japan and does this ancient medicine with bees. And I thought, bees? I was like, literally, what is a bee going to do for me? I said, I'm really sick. And if Western medicine doesn't know about bees, then I doubt it's, I'm not really interested in faith-based medicine.
Yeah.
And then just on practical reasons, I thought, well, I have nothing to lose. It's like going to be $100 to try the bees. I went down there, I made an appointment with her. She did a very thorough medical intake, got a lot of good data on me, which I was impressed with. And then we started into the treatment, and based on my pulse reading that she got, and my tongue and all these things, I was very gray, cold, dizzy.
You have all in Ayurveda, it's all very Vata vitiated, which is all the symptoms you're describing in Ayurveda would be a Vata imbalance.
Like fire?
Oh no, well, the fire was definitely like burning you from the inside out, but when there's too much fire, it can actually push. Well, actually, what the symptoms were pushing you to burnout, and then the cold came in, right? You said you were feeling cold, you were getting insomnia at night. So initially it was fire, but then it moved into air and ether, which is why you were losing weight, which is why you were having not absorbing nutrients. It's why you couldn't digest anything anymore. You had no more fire. The fire had burned everything out, and you were left with the cold, the cold element.
That's pretty accurate. Yep. And so as soon as we did the bees, she started in and tapping different meridian points, and I could literally feel the venom she would be working on, for example, my shin, stomach 36, a pretty common point for inflammation and stomach issues. And as soon as she put some venom in there, I would feel the venom go all the way into my stomach. I would feel the meridian. I would feel it go throughout my body. I immediately felt I would survive. Like, wow. I instantly felt warm inside. I felt like, oh, I could, I wasn't afraid to be in cold water. Just the thought of it wasn't horrifying. And then, of course, that continued throughout the treatment. And within 20 minutes, I committed, I begged her to say, look, I need to learn this. Like this will heal me. I can feel it. And I left that after that treatment. I'll never forget. I left the treatment and I felt really kind of buzzing and like a little shaky and a little wired. And I thought, well, this has got to be the bees. And then I drove about 5 minutes, literally just a few blocks, and I was overcome with complete exhaustion. And I thought, whoa, I gotta pull over. So I pulled over and I did a 15-minute power nap and just assimilated everything. And I woke
your body
up.
needed an integration period. I talk about that through yoga. That's why we do shavasana. Like our body, when we have healing, it needs an integration period.
Well, exactly. And that's what was happening, is that it relaxed my nervous system. All of my shaking went away, all of the trembling. I felt warm inside. I felt inspired. So I took this power nap and I literally woke up feeling like a high schooler. I mean, I felt like I was on top of the world. And
Wow.
I went to the river. My family was there kayaking, and I told her, I said, I'm not going to kayak. I'm not expecting to kayak today. I feel so bad right now in the morning that I was like, I don't expect me to kayak. And I showed up at the river and I got dressed and I started kayaking, and I was doing all the flips and spins and aerial moves in every direction. It was like I was like I had been training for 2 years. Wow. And I hadn't kayaked in 2 years. And it was just shocking to me that my nervous system, my brain, everything fired off. And oddly enough, this was one of the first things I noticed post bee venom, was that I got done kayaking. I took off my dry top that kind of holds in all the evaporation of sweat and everything. I took off my dry top and my eyes were burning and I smelled of Windex. I mean, it was like ammonia 1,000 times stronger than I've ever smelled it. And I thought, wow, I'm really, really sick. Something's really going on here. Yeah. And it took me about 2 years to figure it out, that if I went too far in between bee treatments, I would develop these high levels of ammonia in my blood. Wow. And it would affect my brain, smelling, taste, balance, everything, all my nerves. That as soon as I did bees, I would start smelling the ammonia come out of my skin. And this was one of the big clues that I wasn't, my liver wasn't functioning properly, that I was picking up too much digestive ammonia and I couldn't clear it. That the urea cycle in my system was not functioning. And something about doing bees was like a solvent. It was allowing these toxins to get out of me, and immediately I would feel better. And then so as that progressed, I quit letting myself have these big gaps in the treatment. I would get the bees.
How often would you go now?
Exactly. So, in the first, when I was really sick, I would go 3 days a week to my teacher, and we worked up to, I was doing 30 full bees per treatment. So I'd use about 90 bees a week. And then on the weekends, I'd add another 10 or 20, depending on where I was having problems. So one of the nicest things about this whole thing is, as soon as it started, after my very first treatment with my sensei, I went home, and I slept incredibly that night. The next morning I woke up and I could smell again. I could taste, and I was shocked. I was smelling, cardamom, cinnamon, cloves. I went to the spice cabinet. It didn't matter. My little baby'd have a poopy diaper, and it was like, yeah, I can smell.
Yeah, it was just
like, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter what.
Exactly, didn't matter what. And all my balance issues went away. And so, not only did the bees kind of like invitalize me a bit and give me a boost of energy, but the biggest thing is they really calm my twitching, scattery, kind of white noise nerve system down. My patience returned, my typical good attitude, my inspiration, I like to be inspired about things. All my normal characteristics kind of came back, and I had this warmth in me and vitality, and it was just like, it was unbelievable. I really immediately knew that this was something I would do the rest of my life. And
That's like me with the Ayurveda. I was like, oh, when as soon as my body began to heal, I had the same thing. I was like, okay, this is it.
that's fantastic. And
Yeah.
I haven't studied the Ayurvedic
They're very
very
similar.
much,
Yeah, there's a lot of
but
similarities.
it sounds just incredibly enlightening. And that's the thing, is that like a train station, there's more than one way to health, and it's like I'm not anti-allopathic. It's because, it's saved my life many a times. I had a couple of times in my life I developed pneumonia, and it was the antibiotics that saved my life. And so I'd like
Yeah.
to, what I'm hoping to do is marry these things in my psyche to where we're able to utilize whatever the best tool is to
Yeah.
find the greatest solution.
I love that you said Mary, because that's what I say. I'm like, if Western medicine, if allopathic medicine would embrace the Eastern traditions, the Eastern, medical system, whether it be traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, Tao medicine, where you studied. I mean, if they would just embrace this, we have a system that's for disease prevention and managing the body in a way that you can't utilize with drugs, you can't utilize with surgery. Like, it has its place, and it works perfectly well for what it does. Like you said, if you need an antibiotic, you need an antibiotic, but once you're done, like, you need to restore the microbiome.
Yeah.
And, and Ayurveda is like beautifully designed, probably just as your system is, to restore the microbiome. So help rebuild the Agni, or the digestive fire. So it's like, I just really reason why I do the summit, why I want to educate so powerfully people, is because if we could have a disease prevention model, and we could have a way to manage symptoms that don't utilize heavy duty drugs or surgery, then we would have a beautiful marriage between the two, and each would have its place and serve its purpose the way it needs to. But there is getting to root cause, which makes these systems more a long-term strategy. Like, it's a long-term way to rejuvenate, rebuild, and restore the body back to its vitality, which is what the bee medicine did for you. I mean, your nervous system, your organs were shutting down, your digestion was off, you were building up toxicity because you couldn't cleanse these toxins out of your body. And it just began to bring your body back online in a way that allopathic medicine can't do. It doesn't have a remedy for that.
Well, and like in the Tao and the Chinese traditional methods, and the Hoshindo methods from the Japanese that, they were taught by the Tao, it all goes back to the 5 elements. And if you're trying to treat fire with fire, you're going to burn up everything that's there, and including minerals and metals. So if you burn up all your metals, then you have no minerals. And this is where, even in our food system, where we're using these solvents that rob nature of minerals, like glyphosate, this kind of thing, it's not the way to make food vital. The soil dies, the food dies, and people eating it die, and it's really important, I think, to honor the 5 elements in us, and to honor the fact that many of these things have side effects, as you know. And if we're using fire to stop a fire, well, there's going to be a lot of,
there's going to be a wildfire. I mean, it's going to be a raging fire.
Yeah, exactly. And with other situations, like broken bones and that kind of thing, Western medicine is a world leader and can really align things and repair things on a huge level. Their intervention medicine and the surgeries can be very excellent in a crisis. But like you said, if we can kind of see these things coming and maintain a sense of harmony in the body ahead of time, then you're going to just be that far out of balance. You'll be that more imbalanced before you get to these extremes where you really have to have this emergency intervention.
Right. I'll give you an example. Like, for somebody who's gone through radiation and chemo, once they're done, their body's completely depleted. It's like you had to kill the cancer, so you almost kill the body to kill the cancer. Well, then that person is left completely depleted, and you have to bring the prana or the chi or the life force back into the body. Well, these systems are designed beautifully for that. So it's like, if people could leave, I mean, I'm not a fan personally. Like, if I had cancer, I would go a different route, I just would, but I don't want to get into that. But I'm just saying that if you went down and did your radiation and chemo, and then your body, they say, okay, you're cancer free, then you need something to restore the system and bring it back to homeostasis. I mean, you have to refortify the system. So, so let everyone know, like, so with the bee medicine, like, what is it specific about the venom now that you've gone through this personal experience? What was it, did you discover that made it work? Do you have an answer? Like, is it unknown, or is it like, okay, there's these properties that made it very clear why it worked?
There's definitely, it's a mix of that. So bee venom is one of the most studied substances in the world. It actually is considered very safe, except for the very few 1%, 0.1% of people that may develop a reaction. The thing about bee venom that is so effective is multifaceted. We do know that, and it's in the literature, anytime you Google bee venom therapy against whatever disease, you're going to find some evidence. And in every clinical trial, they say more study is needed. The thing is, there's not a lot of impetus to study something you can't patent in our world, unfortunately. So there's all this need to be able to make big money on what we know, whereas bee venom is really has a 10,000 year history all the way back to Egypt. The things we do know about bee venom that work so well is the fact is, just like in acupuncture. Acupuncture is inserting a needle into the right meridian point to elicit a response from the immune system. So a big needle sticking in your body, the body goes, whoa, what is this? It's a foreign object. We're going to go deal with it. By going to the acupoint, that's activating, in a sense, manipulating the immune system to give the regions that attention that they need from the inside. Mm-hmm. So with bee venom, it's been shown to be neurologically restorative, and it's also neurologically protective, in the sense that the venom, once introduced through the surface of the skin, not under the skin, subcutaneous, we're scratching into the surface of the skin, and then the venom follows the nerve channels of the body, and it follows the potassium calcium channel of every cell in the body. This is one of the things why I feel it's so effective, is there's no barrier to it. The venom goes throughout the body, blood-brain barrier. That's really not a barrier as much as it's a size component, but the venom is molecularly extremely tiny, and it just travels through the nerve system. So that's one of the big factors.
So like in Ayurveda, it would be considered like a nervine tonic. It's able to restore the nervous system. It's like a nervine sedative or tonic. He froze.
Exactly. It's able to calm down a misfiring nerve, and it's. Oh, did I freeze you? Did you get me?
Okay. Yeah, I didn't.
So one of the things.
Oh, you froze again. Here, try one more time.
Unstable. So it looks like my internet needs to be staying. Do you have me there?
Yeah, try one more time. We lost you, but it's fine. Just go again.
Okay. So, besides being neurologically restorative and protective, the other things we know about bee venom is that it's extremely anti-inflammatory. So bee venom has been shown to be about 1,000 times stronger, maybe 100 times stronger, but quite a bit stronger than any steroid we use. The side effects of bee venom as an anti-inflammatory tool are that it increases inflammation at the local site, but then in the long run, it reduces the systemic inflammation. So there's an immediate inflammation where all the immune system comes and the body really heals itself. On the same level, some of the side effects are that we see things like increased cell-to-cell communication. Shows up in terms of like getting chills. We see, besides cell-to-cell communication, we see denser bones. We see increased microcirculation. I've treated massive injuries, car accidents where the docs are saying, hey, you're on all the blood thinners, your leg's purple, we can't get it circulating, we may have to remove it if you start going gangrene. And on some of these cases, I would introduce 16, 17 bee stingers throughout the purple leg, and by the next day the entire leg was 50% smaller. The circulation had really improved, and the color had come in from purple to pink. We see this in diabetic neuropathy. It just really seems to activate the body's repair mechanisms on many different levels. There's many studies now in the curriculum of B Venom working on triple gram negative cancer in the breast, prostate cancer, kidney cancer, skin cancers. You know, the real challenge is introducing the venom to the areas in the concentrations that are going to be effective. So with Lyme disease, there's many online protocols. You know, what we try to focus on is the core of the body for the first few weeks, because the extremities are going to be much more toxic. And then once we can get the body sort of cleaning itself out, and we're monitoring the lymph system and seeing how much is coming off through the lymph and not overclogging anything, then we can go systemic with the venom a little more effectively, you know, not just up and down the spine or just in the abdomen, but we're actually going all the way to the toes, shins, knees, legs, back of the legs, brain, hands, fingers, arms, everywhere. And so, you know, it is a wonderful tool to get things moving. Now, again, in some cases, you know, if you have a infected wisdom tooth, I've been able to keep those infections at bay for days, but still in the end, you got to go to the dentist and you got to get in there and get that infection out of there. So, you know, this is again where I say, you know, it's about being able to read the system properly and then be able to intervene with the most effective tools. You know, bee venom is definitely not going to work for everyone and definitely not going to work on everything. But in terms of just stimulating and manipulating the immune system to address regions of need, repair, whether it's sports injuries, tendonitis, localized, certain inflammation in certain places, then the bee venom really does address that kind of thing. You know, with emotional, long-standing trauma locked in the body, I've never seen anything more powerful than the Tsang internal organ massage. Very relieving. And when it comes to the psyche of the patient, I've never seen anything more powerful than these Tao 10 Palace readings that allow the mind to understand where we give our power away and where we don't use our steering wheel and our brakes and our accelerator, and we just get lost.
Let's get into that. Like, explain the origins of it. I mean, because I'm sure a lot of people have never even heard of it. The origins of it, how it works, the whole system itself, and then how you utilize it.
Absolutely. And so the Tao 10 Palace readings is where I start with all my patients. And what this does, it's a Tao cosmology, if you will, or astrology. We look at the birth date, and that establishes a known sort of time. And that gives us an idea where the positions of the planets are. And they have a lot of influence maybe over our organ function. So we do a Tao birth reading, and then we go through the organs, each of the 10 organs that are the main primary meridians. So if you think of the meridians as a collection of rivers that circulate through the body, then underneath those you have not only other subtle meridians, but you also have these 8 oceans of our internal essence. And so the Tao 10 Palace reading, what it does, it gives you as a person the opportunity to go in and sort of see, hey, let's see if we can verify if this is right or not. Does it resonate with me? And when we go in and we start seeing people uncovering their own personal traumas in the meridians that are normally deficient from birth, then we start to see, wow, there's a lot of correlation that wherever we're sort of weaker, we pick up traumas. And where we're really strong, we're sort of like immune to those weaknesses. That's we really go the other way, take it for granted, you know?
Yeah, that's really fascinating, because it's like, okay, if this is your, you know, if this is your astrological birth chart, what I see it as is like, these are weak areas to begin with. Then when the trauma happens, it just gets stored in this weaker part of the body. Because in Ayurveda, there's a similar word, it's called a kavyaguna. And a kavyaguna is considered a weak area. And once there's a trauma to that area, or disease or an illness or sickness of some sorts, that weak point will always be more vulnerable. And so the symptoms will typically like come back to the kavyaguna, which is basically what you're saying is that is like, it's like, it's there, but then it takes like whatever that trauma is or whatever that life incident is to get stored in that specific part of the body.
Exactly.
Which is interesting.
So what I'm finding.
Oh, I was just going to say it's interesting because I had a woman who was talking about biofeedback and sound vibrational healing. And she was saying how if it's grief, you can see it in one area. If it's, I mean, like, you know, traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda do have like the organs of the bodies, like have their own propensity, right? But at the same time, each individual is very unique, you know, in how they're going to store that information or that trauma within the body. Like obviously certain organs have a propensity
Exactly.
to grief.
And I can have,
Yeah, you go ahead.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like you said, so, you know, in the Tao, there's each of the organs carries a certain flavor of a particular grief or a particular trauma. So heart is all about, you know, joy or lack of joy. Liver is sort of like qualities of anger or lack of anger. And gallbladder would be about frustration or lack of frustration. Kidneys all kind of about like fear or fearlessness. And the stomach is going to be about your appetite for life or your lack of appetite for life. So it's kind of like we see sort of a universal sort of acknowledgement. The more I do these readings, the more I'm fascinated with how much we all are in the same thing together. Now, when we have organs that are excessively strong, for example, you can be so strong that you actually become weak because you're sort of arrogant in that area. So with, for example, lung, I have a very powerful lung system. I have a loud voice. I can be way intense on my kids if I like yell or, you know, and I'm just talking. But I developed that as a RAF guy. It was good for me as a RAF guy to have big lung volume and yell over the rapids to be able to communicate. But I have learned, okay, this is one of my excessives. I can be a little overly excessive there. I got to soften that when I'm, you know, so again, it's all about trying to find the middle way and where we can, you know, be in a sense of harmony. So if we have excessive liver, we're kind of angry, kind of on fire, really over the top, then what we can do is sort of stimulate the other meridians to support that excessiveness. For example, if you have excess wood and you add more water, then you kind of get more wood, just like we see in California when they have big springs with rain, then they have huge fire summers because of all the excess growth. And so what we have to do is, well, the mother of water is metal. And if we have excess liver, excess wood, too much reserve fuel for fire, then we come in with metal. Same thing happened in New Mexico this summer. Had a very dry summer, massive dry forest, huge forest fire. And they brought in chainsaws and mastication machines that are metal to chop down that wood and groom the forest to kind of get rid of that excess dead wood. And that's, you know, kind of how the 5 elements works. We try to bring the excessives down and then bring the deficiencies up. And then you get this natural harmony going in the system. And so so that's why I use the Tao charts as it's not an end all. It's a tool that allows us access deep into the body, into the patient for psychic evaluation by them. And then we can pick out, according to their story, where the traumas really lie and where their health really lies. And we can see that in the Western diagnosis. And that just gives us a great place to start. So if we see somebody that's constantly dealing with kidney issues, then we know we're tonifying that kidney a lot. And then once we get people into that balance and we've addressed our weaknesses and the extremes and excessives, then we also look at the colors, the flavors, and the temperatures of the food, just like I'm sure you do in Vedic medicine. And then we go beyond that. We go beyond that regular acupuncture meridian system, and we take it another level with doing the Chine Sun internal massage, because what we're trying to do is cleanse the bodies of traumas that are going to hold us in space and time. It's almost like if you're flying a plane and you're holding on to all your wounds, you're just carrying too much dead weight, and we got to get the drag out of there. So if people can have a spiritual bowel movement, then you're going to have a little better flight, you know, and it's kind of like that. So we use all the tools we can, you know, besides diet. We get right into diet. We get right into psychology. We get right into one of the things I like to talk about in the Tao is how the eyes are like ovaries and the nose and mouth is like the birth canal for ideas. So it's the eyes are the ovaries for ideas and the mouth gives birth to it. And so we have to watch our words just as much as we're trying
You have to watch your words.
Got to watch those words. Yeah. And so anyway, so we find that if we can reduce the resistance to change in the people, give them a deep sense of purpose and fearlessness, then they can let go of the baggage when they're ready. And then, you know, and the thing that's so exciting about bee venom therapy is that it's really scary. Anybody I've ever talked to about bee venom therapy is like, what? Why would I want to do that? That's totally painful. And so what I describe it as is you pain it forward by adding a little pain in the beginning, then you can really heal towards the end.
Mhm.
Looks like I seized up a little there.
Yeah, no, you're good. I love all that you're saying. I mean, it's very similar to Ayurveda. I'm just like my mind's like making all these connections, but we work with the 5 great elements too. And like increases like, so just like you're saying, if like increases like, we want to bring in the opposite quality. Instead of metal, we have air and ether, which is a little bit different, I understand. And I love what's coming out in the summit with a few different speakers, because trauma-informed therapy is a big thing right now. And, you know, I was talking to a Ayurvedic practitioner in another interview, and
Sorry,
fine. Yeah, she's good.
my little bear is talking to me.
Yeah, understandable. I got 2 of them, so get it. Yeah, so, you know, trauma's coming up a lot in our collective. You're good. Trauma is coming up in our collective right now in terms of we know we have to remove the trauma. The body keeps score. It's in there. And, you know, trauma-informed therapists are working on this and working on the subconscious mind. And interestingly enough, I was talking to an Ayurvedic practitioner where in Canada, psychedelics are now for practitioners for mental health. It's legal for mental health professionals. So what they're doing is they're using, and this just makes me connect the dots with what you're doing too, is they're taking people to go through psychedelic therapy to help kind of unearth or excavate the trauma, but then they're using Ayurveda to come and calm the nervous system, and like that integration period, like integrating the medicine, coming in with Ayurveda. And similarly, like you're saying, is there's this beautiful system where you can look at the astrology and know where the propensities are in the psycho-spiritual body, verify it with the person and what they're experiencing in real time, and then bring in the opposite qualities or look at the other stronger qualities in the body. Just like, again, a biofeedback tuning fork one was talking about, okay, if one area is weak, she would like take the strong area and then click, drag and drop into the weaker area of the body. And it's like all connecting. And I just love it because not only are we talking about healing, but this is going back right to where allopathic medicine doesn't have a system for the mind, body, spirit complex. Like it's a great system for the physical body when it's in physical need of an antibiotic or surgery or something to fuse a bone. But when we're getting into the psycho-spiritual body and trauma, and we're dealing with the soul essence and the weaknesses and strengths within someone's karma, or you don't even have to believe in karma, but their physical makeup, you can come in, or, you know, practitioners like us can come in and like deal with that energetic body and help that person see a longer term vision for their healing, you know. And that's just so beautiful because you're verifying in real time, hey, like this is what I'm seeing in your chart. What is happening in real time? And then you're just bringing in those other qualities or the strength of the body to fortify the system.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I love about the system is that I've been shocked at how effective it is. And beyond, like I've realized in doing all these readings, okay, a lot of people that deal with insomnia, and they don't have to have any other health issues. And it becomes a clear thing. Like we've talked about, if you have a vision and a purpose in life and you're not following it, it haunts you. And
wow, I love that.
If you can anchor your behavior in a vision that's complete, that anchors the gallbladder in something. The gall doesn't have to decide if you've anchored it in your vision. You just do it because that's your vision. You know, this is what I have to do to get to where I want to be. Like if I want to be fit, then you know, ding dongs don't really lay in the gallbladder as a decision. It's like, should I have a ding dong? Do I want to be fit? Well, I've anchored myself in fitness, so I guess a ding dong is an absolute distraction. And so, you know, it's like that. And so I'm beginning to see clearer more and more that if we're not anchored in our vision, that's the stomach's in the Tao, the stomach is responsible for our personal vision. And that if we're not anchored in anchoring our behavior and vision, then we're going to see these insomnia things happening, because it's part of the mind wanting to make a decision towards a path, but not taking it. And that's where it starts to haunt us. And I've seen this myself. I had insomnia for months and months and months, 10 months, when I had a difficult breakup, because my heart was so broken and I didn't know where I was going, and I wanted to be able to grow through this. And once I anchored myself in accepting the insomnia, I was able to journal, and then reviewing my journaling, I was able to see what I was going for, what I was learning, and what I needed to learn. And then now I'm a insomnia proof, as long as I'm anchoring my behavior and thinking on my vision. And
I had a good decade of insomnia, and that totally resonates. I was really out of alignment with my truth at that time. And that makes complete sense. I mean, I was like, it was like a churning of the oceans at night of like, what's the answer? Because I was not in flow. I was not in line with my purpose. And it haunted me. Just like you said, it was like a haunting thing when you can't let go into your truth, you know?
Oh, exactly. And, finding the space to commit to these, for me, it was with this long-standing difficulty of getting hit by lightning. For 10 years, I suffered greatly and trying to rebuild my body. And I was in a lot of pain. And I thought, hey, pain is my teacher right here. I don't need to escape the pain. The pain is reminding me that I'm still alive, and that hopefully one day will be out of pain. And oddly enough, it was the bees that really assisted me in a way and changed my understanding of what was going on in my system, to where, I'm happy to take a little bit of bee venom pain for the fact that my entire system doesn't hurt anymore. I have no more arthritis. I don't have any more of these migraine kind of headaches, the cluster headaches. If I have a lung issue and I pop a bunch of venom into the meridians for that, and it clears up in a few hours, it's just fantastic to see how effective these things can be. But if I see chronic lung problems in people, I'm going to ask, what is the grief we're not unfolding here? We got some low level burning grief going on in there, and we can release it with Chine Sung. Then, wow, we're really seeing some change. People really, when they have these spiritual bowel movements, boy, they really lighten up, and then they're able to find their control again, where they can take control of themselves, or they can accelerate or use the brakes to slow down and take care of themselves a little differently. And it's just really exciting, because it's a very sensitive system that addresses everything, physical, structural, chemical, you name it. We're all so connected, and it's underscored to me, actually, my process of being disabled with Lyme disease, and seeing all these hundreds of thousands of people suffering. I've lost several friends to Lyme disease through suicide, and I volunteer with search and rescue because I can deal with the spirit, and when these suicides happen, I can do the body recoveries, and I'm working with the police to help them get these bodies out of this classified gorge we have underneath the bridge. And it's just oh, my darn internet. Oh,
I hear you just fine. It's coming.
Okay, great. And so anyways, it's for me to have gone through the lightning and back, it's made me empathetic to the fact that we all need each other, really big time, more than ever. And we're yet more isolated than we've ever been, because of phones and all the trillions of distractions we have going right now. I don't know that anybody really is very settled in where are we all going collectively as a culture, or as a planet. We're just seeing there's still just pervasive selfishness and greed and all this kind of thing. So, we don't need to address the big picture. Like my friend and I were talking, I thought, well, I need a healing center. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't need a healing center. I just need to make the patient the center of any of the healing.
Wow, that's such a beautiful metaphor. My goodness.
And it changed everything.
If you make the patient the center of the healing, then it's almost like it reminds me of Christ. People were like, oh, it's a miracle. Like he's healing, like laying of the hands. And it's like, well, then people will line up at the door because they know the truth that they're getting healed, or that the healing is being revealed. I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you make the patient the center, the purpose, then you can serve the masses, you can serve.
Well, exactly. Changing the world one treatment at a time, one space at a time. And what's also been a huge surprise to me is how much I'm learning from each of my patients, that I'm actually having to follow my own advice, which is like,
I know, that's the biggest lesson.
like,
It's
oh
so
God,
true.
I better be listening to what I'm saying here.
I tell my patients all the time, I say, oh my God, you all are my biggest teachers, because in order for me to come into my practice, right, I have to fortify my system to be of service to them. And then like, they're just my inspiration every day to be like, okay, get back on your game, like be here in your best, lightest capacity, because especially when you're working with the energetic body, if you're depleted in your energetic body, then you can't be of highest service. Like that's the biggest thing I learned as like doing Therapy, which is working right in the 108 vital energy points of the body in the system that I'm taught. If I go in there weak, then I'm not giving the best medicine. I'm a conduit. I don't say that I am the medicine, I'm a conduit for the information to be carried to my, I'm just a channel for the healing. So, but if that channel's weak, like you're talking about the weak organs of the body, if you come in as a weak practitioner and, it's like the weak organs, it's not going to be as profound or as effective or efficient. So absolutely, that we're all in this together. This is such a beautiful way to end. We're all in this together, and we're all here, I believe, to be of service in the way that we're soul is like our dharma, our life purpose. We're here, like you said, if you're not in line with your dharma, with your life purpose, you're going to have insomnia. There's a state of flow that our souls want to be in. And when we're of greatest service to humanity and the best light that we can bring, then my goodness, we would change the world if we all could be of service to one another.
Well, exactly. And that's where I just keep following the bees example. They're fearless. They face their mortality every day, just like we have to wash dishes and do laundry and do all these mundane things. It's the same deal. If we can be in that space of fearlessness and actually of deep service, to where everything we do is for the benefit of the hive or the benefit of the tribe or the family, it's just been, I've been finding it to be almost self-fueling. The better I do with each patient, the more I'm inspired to listen to what I'm teaching and to practice it, because this system, all these systems have given me so much more grace and harmony and spirit that, I feel like I'm just getting started in life right now, even though I realize I know just this much of the system, just so little. I may know more than a lot of people, but it's such a deep well that we're kind of co-exploring it. And so I just want to commend you for bringing all these different modalities together. I'm looking at the list of speakers, and I'm just so excited to even be in this crowd, because it's a real honor. The lightning experience taught me, hey, I don't care how bad I'm hurting, I'm still here. I'm not gone yet. And it's nice to come back. It's like I have a second chance at being able to have some effect, a change in life this way. I didn't die. I had many close calls in my life I don't even know to go into it, but it's a beautiful thing to stay present to what we're all doing and to contribute, because it's brief. This life is really brief. That's the other real thing I've seen from the bees. They don't live very long. In the summer, they live 45 days, so that's you got to pack a lot of value in if you're only around for a month or so. So
there was it reminded me of the movie I saw recently. I think it was the octopus story, the photographer who went into the ocean with the octopus. And I just oh my gosh, I was like, oh, it just touched my heart so deeply that it had 1 year and he tracked that year. It's just our life does flash before our eyes like that. And why not be of service? Why not be able to be here for one another? This has been amazing. Yeah. I appreciate your time. And before we end, can you just share what you're up to in your life right now?
Okay, so the golden chalice I'm going for right now is there's 4 new international disease codes written by a friend of mine who has Lyme disease. She happens to be Jenna Thayer. She is a senior advisor to the U.S. medical government.
Mhm.
And, she's the senior medical advisor to the U.S. government, World Health, NATO, and she has Lyme disease. And she came up with these 4 new international disease codes to provide extended care coverage for Lyme disease patients. So if somebody's suffering from Lyme disease, what we're trying to do is get the Hoshindo method, the Tin Palace channel understanding, and the Chine Tsang as a system verified in clinical trial to show the efficaciousness against Lyme disease. And if it can be verified, then it will have a real chance of having insurance pay for it. So other practitioners will receive Medicaid payments for these patients that are too destitute and frankly suicidal with Lyme disease to even make a living. And so if we can bring some traditional medicines to the suffering of a natural disease like Lyme disease and all these co-infections, then people that are suffering will have a real chance at surviving and getting back to work, and then living through that trauma to actually be of great service to all the other people that are dealing. Because let me tell you, with global warming, it's the single #1 thing killing moose in lower Canada and northern US is ticks and Lyme disease.
Yeah.
It is rampant right now. And so we're trying to address that main need head on. And so that's what I'm working going all over the United States and the world to bring like-minded people together to get some of these traditional medicines properly studied so that we can show how effective they will be.
Right on. Oh my gosh, I love that. It's so important. And as soon as it's proven, then we can get health insurance to cover. This is the goal, like the health self-healing revolution. Like, we have some medicine that's valuable. We know it works. We're healing people. We know that they're having a better quality of life because of it. You had a better quality of life because of it. I had a better quality of life because of it. And now it's just the next stage. And I believe it will happen. I do. I have faith.
Well, I do too. And it's, to me, it's in the Tao edicts, the main thing as a Tao priest or practitioner is to, help humanity find harmony within itself and harmony with nature, because we're not separate of it. We're part of this system. We're involved with nature. We need to find harmony together. Humans and nature together in harmony is really what we're going for.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you. So psyched.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm amped.